All right, it's Tuesday evening, September 3rd. Something really amazing happened on Monday, yesterday morning. Um, I always need to know why. I don't know why. I always need to know why. I always have to understand why. And something that has dogged me for the last several years is why I'm fixing some things. Why the psychology of Trump supporters? Why? Why? Why are they willing to just completely abandon everything this country stands for? Why are they willing, as Christians, to support a man who's cheated on all three of his baby mamas, all three of his wives? He paid off a porn star. He paid off a Playboy model. He's been convicted of 34 felonies. He's got 50 some odd felonies hanging over his head. He's got 3 more criminal trials waiting for him. Why? 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 Why do they believe this man? Why have they made this man their identity? Why have they made this man their entire personality? Why have they substituted so many things that they profess to believe for this man who violates every single one of those beliefs? Why? Why? And I had another guest on my podcast, Hawk Droppings, yesterday morning. One of my favorite people from this app, Texas Trey. You can find that at hawkpodcasts.com. It's also on our YouTube page. There are links in my link tree in my bio. And we talked for an hour, and we talked for a lot of things, about a lot of things. He voted for Trump in 2016. He lives in East Texas. He voted for Biden in 2020. We talked about MAGA. We talked about elections. We talked about race. When we were growing up, we talked about white privilege. We talked about a lot of things. We spoke for an hour. This is my favorite podcast episode that I've recorded so far. And please follow Texas Trey. I will tag him below. It was a great episode. Please enjoy the following first few minutes. All right, everybody. Recording this on Labor Day, about 10 a.m. West Coast time. Welcome back to another episode of Hawk Droppings with your host. I'm Hawk. And we have another tremendous guest today, my buddy Texas Trey. How you doing, brother?
Man, I'm good. How are you? It's good to see you.
I'm good. It's good to see you too. And I'm having Trey on because he's I guess what I would call a reformed Republican. Voted for Donald Trump in 2016. Now is firmly on the left. And we were talking a little bit before I hit record. I have this, I think, masochistic fascination with trying to understand the psychology of Trump supporters. And because where I live in the Bay Area, we don't have them out here. I don't ever have to. It's funny, Trey, you'll appreciate this. I kind of say it as a joke, but it's like the only time that I have to deal with Trump supporters is when I head into the Central Valley to buy ammunition. The Central Valley is a lot more conservative than the coast. And so I wanted to start today with, because Trey lives in Texas, red state, and I wanted to start off with, talk to me a little bit about, you voted for Trump in 2016, and now you're on the left. What happened?
Great question. One that I get pretty regularly. So if you don't mind, let me give you a little bit of context and background and history.
Yeah.
Behind it and how I got to where I was and how, with respect to voting for Donald Trump in 2016, and then, sort of woke up, to lack of a better term. So, I grew up in a relatively small town in deep East Texas, which is an ultra-conservative part of an ultra-conservative state. And my parents were in no way, shape, or form conservatives or Republican. I grew up in the 70s, high school in the 80s. My dad was a college professor. Mom was a kindergarten teacher. And politics, as you remember it just wasn't a thing like it is now. It just wasn't.
It was boring.
It was boring. Nobody gave a shit. Nobody gave a shit about school board elections. Nobody gave about, anything like that.
Yeah.
And it was, that's another issue for another time, how it's been crammed down our throats. But I grew up not really at all in a household like that, which some people might assume. I started my journey, if you will, to the right when I got into high school, because where I grew up, all of my friends went to church. And that's really where it all started for me. It's a Reagan era. I went to church because that's what all my friends did. All the girls I was interested in, went to church and everything. And that sort of began my indoctrination, if you will, for lack of a better word.
Yeah.
Reagan had come on the scene. That was the first, other than Jimmy Carter, Ronald Reagan. I have a lot of memory of paying much attention to politically and all. Again, that was related because of evangelical church. And of course, you're aware of the whole history there. The moral majority, Jerry Falwell, and the deal that Reagan made with the devil, so to speak. On board. So it was all apple pie, kill the commies, and that really started me down the path on the right side. Graduated college, became a cop, which is, a profession that many people associate with being, right or even far right. Worked in the oil field. I went to church, in and out, off and on throughout, got married. My first wife had a family, so went to church and all that sort of stuff. And always with respect to politics, voted in the presidential elections because I felt it was my patriotic duty to do so. Straight ticket Republican. Never really paid much attention to the candidates. That's just how it was. We were too busy living life, trying to survive and get through, and do all the, starting the family and everything. It just wasn't something that entered our lives. And so you roll that all the way up to Barack Obama. I didn't vote for him. I was a straight ticket Republican voter. But I remember when he got elected, I remember thinking to myself, wow, there's a real opportunity here. The first Black president of the United States. Very well spoken, very articulate, very well educated. And I was not prepared for what I saw, which was the backlash against him. It was just unbelievable. And then you had the rise of Trump. And my vote for Trump in 2016 wasn't so much a vote for Donald Trump. I didn't know anything about the guy. He was a reality TV star, and he wrote a book about real estate, and he was some multimillionaire, it was big news back in the 80s, I guess.
Yeah.
My vote was really more or less against Hillary. She didn't have anything to offer me. As I saw it, there was this almost, I remember, an arrogance about her, this sort of energy that this was already a done deal. There's no point in even. And to be honest, I was shocked when we went to bed that night and woke up the next morning and heard that he had won. I just couldn't believe it. So that is really a bit of a down and dirty background and context to how I came up to voting for Trump in 2016. Mm-hmm. Now, it takes a little bit of a different turn from there, if you will. But yeah.
Yeah. And so at what point, so you voted for him in 2016, did you vote for Biden in 2020?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. There were just,
what started that shift?
Well, a couple things. Once he got into office, a lot of the bravado, a lot of the, unpresidential type of behavior that was interesting to watch during the debates and interesting to watch during the campaign. My assumption was he would take that behavior and that rhetoric and tone it way down once he got into office and would become much more in line with presidents that we've seen in the past. And that obviously did not happen. That
he would start to act presidential.
Exactly. Like a fucking just act like a fucking grown-up. And to the way he would degrade other leaders in other countries publicly, the arrogance, the narcissism that became evident. Now, this wasn't an overnight thing. This was slow. And the controversies, that began, the whole FBI thing, the border separating parents and children at the border. There were just these little things that went along that historically you could argue that, has gone on for some time. We've never had a good solution to anything going on at the border. And the best one we've had in a long time was shot down by Trump. And
by Trump. Yeah.
Yeah. And so